when you started that group, I know a couple really key things came out of that. I know that you learned a lot about Invisalign and impacting your top line, insurance, profitability, phones. What were like the three biggest things that you now look at? And if I was a client and you came to me, and you said, "Hey, Gary, we got to fix these three things." What are those three things that you run to right away that you focus on?
The three things, and they're so not sexy and they're so not what people want to focus on, are really your new patient conversion, your ability to capitalize from your marketing to new patients, which we can talk about, which was a huge blind spot for me initially, which are your team's ability to effectively answer a phone, not just answer questions. The second is your ability to sell treatment to those patients, like actually get them to do it.
Get them to say yes,
and
right?
The third, is how you retain them, which comes down to recare, which is mind-bogglingly underserved. Yep. Where like every office I know puts their automated reminders on, and that's their recare. And if they really look at it, they're like, well, we have 40 new patients. I'm like, well, if you've had 40 new patients every month for the last 2 months, how many days of hygiene have you added? Well, none.
That means you're bleeding somewhere.
Okay, well then it's called churn. Right? You need to look at that. And so, those are not like the sexy things, and they're not things that people really want to do or focus on. And they're hard, especially the sales side of it, which comes down to the new patients and the treatment acceptance, because we literally create team members in those seats that are almost the opposite of what you need in those seats.
Okay, so the right people, right seats. Okay, so let's work through those. So new patient conversion, and I'm huge on this, right? Because it's...
this is our joint passion.
Yes. So this is a lot of times, and there's a lot of bad marketing companies out there, and marketing companies have a bad reputation. That's on them. Just like consultants, same thing, right? And I get why. However, with that said, a lot of dental practices marketing fail because they don't have clarity around conversion. They don't know what Susan's phone conversion is for marketing patients. And it's hard to convert them.
Right.
It's not easy. If you're just walking in, or you just said, I just gave them training one time, and there's zero accountability and there's no KPIs, they're not going to convert those. So how do you come in and help people solve that? And then what's the next phase? So phone, everybody knows about the phone, and we'll spend a little bit of time on that. But then how do we move into the office and retain those?
Right. Well, the phone call is so critical. And I'll tell you what we do is we hire people for our front desk who answer the phone. And it's literally the first thing we have them do. I have for real seen people on their first day looking for a card because they're answering the phone, not even knowing like the office address. They're that ill-equipped to be picking up the phone. And what we do is we teach them just pick up the phone and answer questions. They don't even recognize an inquiry as a potential sale. So if I ask teams all the time, like, how do you do with new patients? Every single one of them will say, pretty good. Pretty much everybody who calls schedules, unless they have Medicaid. And that's and I say, so, okay, everybody calls schedules. And what they mean by that is everybody who calls and says, I'd like to schedule an appointment, schedules. But anybody else who says, do you take this insurance, or how much is an implant? They
don't schedule.
If I ask them about that, they'll say, well, they just wanted to know if we take this, or they just wanted to know how much this was. And I'm like, no, that's not what they wanted to know. Yeah. What they wanted to know is, can you see me? Can you help me with this? So when your
front desk is telling you, so if there's a doctor listening to this and your front desk tells you we convert everybody, really they're converting 50%? Not even?
Not even. Probably not even. Honest. And you probably know this. I mean, I commonly see, without really any training, it can be as low as 30 to 40%, especially if you are an office that is exiting insurance or not in network with every single person, you're probably in the 30s. And it starts with, honestly, helping the team members understand that that's a lead. Well, I don't truly think it registers as a lead. And
let me just frame it up this way, so to make it simple, because people like square numbers. So if you're spending $10,000 on marketing and you're at 30% conversion, that means 7,000 of it is lost on the phones, right? That's just gone. And then to your point, now it's you lost a lead or you didn't convert. The way I look at it is if you're spending $10,000 and you get 100 leads, you're paying $100 to make that phone ring. And I'm just using round numbers. So
yeah.
So each person that doesn't convert is like you're washing $100 bill down the drain, right? And your team
Correct.
isn't aware of that, and they're not. I've never met a team without them being coached that understand or look at it that way.
Yeah, and actually, we do a lot of things, and this is my own story with it. We do a lot of things that sabotage them on the phone. You know, a lot of times, what I will hear people like from a sales standpoint doing on the phone is terrible, but it's literally what they've been instructed to do. So my own best example of this is I used to have two of my offices were about 3 miles apart in Madison, Wisconsin. Same basic market, same demographic, same marketing budgets. One was seeing about 45 new patients a month. The other was lucky to see like 12 a month. And you know, I just kept getting, nobody wants to schedule, you know, we're not getting calls, And this was before I had phone tracking. And I had this lucky stroke of fate where I had the office manager and the front office person at the second office out for a couple of days. And I was literally there answering the phones myself. And the first day I was there, I scheduled 8 new patients, which showed me that the phone was ringing quite a bit, actually. But one of them stands out to me to this day because it was a young kid who had said, hey, do you guys require an FMX? That was his first question. And in my head, like I thought, oh, crap. If either of my team members had answered this,
lost it.
They would cite our X-ray policy and say, we do require our new patients to have a current full series of X-rays and because they're being good policy upholders. But instead, because of the position as I was in, I said, well, you know, we would love for you to have one, but tell me why you ask. Right. And he's like, well, I've been going to Dr. So-and-so down the street, good, reputable doctor my whole life. And it's his policy that once you turn 23, you have to have an FMX. And I said, oh, well, is there a reason you don't want to have one? And he's like, well, I would. This is how I know he's had this explained by a dental person. I would, except that I just had a pano and I'm not eligible for an FMX. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, well, how about this? We would love to have you. Why don't we get you in for cleaning and checkup? We'll get those x-rays sent over here. And if our doctor feels like you need an FMX, it's on me.
Yep.
And he said, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I said, you know, well, otherwise, if you're healthy, we probably won't need it. We'll take it next time you're eligible.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay, great. We scheduled this cleaning. And then he's like, oh, by the way, do you guys do Invisalign? And I was like, yep, we sure do. He said, well, that's great because my mom just said she'd pay for my Invisalign. So this doctor down the street lost a call over $100 FMX, and I got a $5,000 Invisalign call just because I simply said,
yep. You explained it, and you explained it in a way that they would understand, right? Like he had no idea what he was talking about. And to your point, just so everybody hears you loud and clear, it's not that you have horrible front desk people. It's that they haven't been trained and they haven't been set up for success. Like that's the bottom line. And if not, you're going to lose more than half of your new patients on the phone. And it doesn't matter how much marketing you have. So I love that you're passionate around that and you help people around that. And then, so now you come into an office, you've opened up the floodgates now, because now we're actually not telling everybody no, we're telling everybody yes. And so these patients are coming in, but now there's going to be the next bottleneck. And you said it was treatment retention,
treatment acceptance or case acceptance.
So walk me through what you work through in office on that side.
Honestly, it's very similar to what I talk about with new patients, which is people are really looking for you to help them figure it out. And what we do instead is we seek to give people a bunch of information, and I overeducate them and actually overcomplicate the conversation quite a bit. And we're weird about money, and we're weird about insurance. And so then we make patients concerned about insurance. And so every office I go to will say, you don't understand. These people want to know exactly what insurance is going to cover. And very seldom have I met a person who actually wants it written in blood that it's going to be $54.60 instead of $60. Yep. That is us. We spend an insane amount of time trying to figure to the penny, and then we're wrong. And then our patients are mad because of $17. And so then we're super upset about people being mad that one time. And then we get even more over the top in our desire to protect our AR and make sure they're going to pay. And it's this, almost every person that has a case acceptance problem will tell me how good their AR is. It's because they're having money conversations that are so alienating that the people who were just going to do it anyway, they'll do it.
Yep.
But anybody else who needed a little help figuring it out is just not going to do it. And so you'll have great AR, it'll be really low, and you'll also have correspondingly low production and treatment acceptance.
Wow. Yeah. And so what I hear there is you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies a lot of times.
1,000%.
Okay. So
my whole thing is to really teach them to simplify that conversation and then to get comfortable helping somebody figure out how. So what I see in the way we present treatment typically is like we slide the treatment plan across and we basically say, here's all the information. Let me know if you want to do it. Right. We just get it. We're in this if statement. Like here's all the information. If you want to do it, you let me know. You don't have to even, sometimes I would say, you don't have to tell me today. That's how conflict averse we are. I really try to teach people to slow down that conversation and make it super simple. And so I give a total to fix you up on the upper right is $1,500. Looks like I'm expecting about $800 from your insurance. So I'll have you take care of $700 when you come in. If there's anything left over, I'll settle up with you then. How does that sound? Most people say that sounds good and they'll proceed. Other people will say, that sounds like a lot. And then I'll say, well, why don't we get you set up on a payment plan with Care Credit? Or why don't we look at Scratch Pay? Or let's figure out what we can do. But they don't even seek to flush out the objection because they don't want it and they're uncomfortable with it. And so it's almost like they're throwing up the hurdle to see if the patient will jump over it. Here's everything your insurance won't do. I know it's a lot. Just let me know when you're ready. And that we actually teach our patients then to care about exactly what insurance is going to cover, because that's all we've talked about.
Yep, 100%. And so again, it just comes down to training, right? Like the people who are doing this just haven't been taught how to do it properly and how to really set the patient up for success. Is that, or do you disagree with that?
I think it's training, yes. And I think it's that we just inherently hire the wrong personalities for those
so
seats.
That was the next one, was right people, right
I mean,
seats.
I think we hire the insurance expert, right, to have treatment coordinator conversations. And I see this happen all the time. I'm not taking away from insurance knowledge, but frankly, the person that loves doing insurance is very likely not your most successful, extroverted, high I treatment coordinator.
So let me get this straight. So if you're slaying the insurance dragons every single day and you are battling with them and you love that, you're probably not the people person on the other side that should be presenting those fees. Yeah.
Correct.
And that happens a lot, like, because it's just like, well, you're the insurance person. So really getting clear on the right person for the right seat, for the right job,